For today's video, we're going to be keeping up with our theme, looking at the minor prophets. And specifically today, we're going to be looking at Micah, a very popular verse, Micah 6:8. Now, I'd like to offer some background information on this particular passage. So I'm going to start reading with verse 6. This is the Israelites' cry to the Lord. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? And now we hear in Micah 6:8 what the Lord requires of them, and us by extension: to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Now, Lee Strobel makes a connection for this verse to the early church, and he comments on how they treated this passage in that time. So I'm going to begin reading his insert for today. Early Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire very quickly, in part because Christians lived out the teaching found in Micah 6:8. Just to remind you, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Tertullian wrote at the end of the 2nd century, "We are but of yesterday, and yet we already fill your cities, islands, your palace, senate, and forum. We have left to you only your temples." Within 150 years, Christianity had spread quite rapidly. One explanation for its speedy dissemination is that many Christians were not just taking care of their own, but they were caring for their neighbors, the poor, widows, the hurting. They were basically very loving. They showed compassion towards children who were often treated callously by the Romans and Greeks at birth, especially baby girls. The lifestyle of Christians matched their teachings, so that the early Christians were not afraid to say, "Imitate us as we imitate Christ." And you can see 1 Corinthians 4:16 and Hebrews 13:7 for references to that passage. Unfortunately, in contemporary evangelism, sometimes people say, "Don't look at us, look at Christ." Because we are worried what people will find if our own lives are scrutinized. That wasn't true of many of these early Christians. There was consistency between their beliefs and their behavior. Now, I want to point out that obviously these early Christians weren't blameless. Like, they still sinned and had struggles. So if you scrutinize any human's life, you're going to see difficulties. But predominantly, these people were very consumed with God. They were very concerned with living for him, and we should definitely emulate that. These early Christians treated each other as brothers and sisters and freely shared their possessions with each other. They also believed that to die is to be with Christ. Justin Martyr in the First Apology says, "You can kill us, but you can't hurt us. Most of us think killing is a big-time hurt, but from their point of view, it wasn't so bad. As Paul said, to live is Christ, and to die is gain." That's Philippians 1:21. So when we take into consideration the early Christians' fearless devotion to the faith, their willingness to testify through their own martyrdom to the truth of Christ, their humble and compassionate lifestyles, their care for each other and the helpless and hurting and disenfranchised in the community, their commitment to prayer, and their empowerment by the Holy Spirit, we can begin to understand why the faith spread so rapidly. So I hope Micah 6:8 really gives you some confidence in your own walk and something to shoot for as well. We are supposed to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Now, today was a bit more of a convicting word from Lee Strobel, but those are important. It's important to realign ourselves with these truths and to make sure that we are truly doing these things that are set out here in Micah 6:8. So feel free to read into the book of Micah some more and glean some of these great nuggets that we can find there. Thanks for watching.